I never thought I would be the kind of man who doubted his wife. For years, I wore my trust like armor, believing it made us strong. But sometimes, trust can blind you. And that's exactly what happened to me. It started small. Laura, my wife, began staying late at work more often. She always had a reason: deadlines, new projects, a demanding boss. I didn't question it. I wanted to believe her. But soon, the late nights turned into entire weekends. She claimed she was traveling for business, but her explanations grew thinner every time. One night, curiosity got the better of me. She had left her laptop open, and although I hated the thought of snooping, something inside me pushed forward. I checked her calendar. The business trip she mentioned didn't exist. No meetings, no conferences, nothing. The following weekend, she packed her suitcase again. I kissed her goodbye and watched her drive away. But instead of going to the airport, she pulled into a hotel just outside of town. I followed, heart pounding so hard I could barely keep my hands on the wheel. I parked across the street, waiting. Minutes later, a man walked out of the lobby, tall and confident, and she rushed into his arms. The way she looked at him, it wasn't casual, it wasn't friendly. It was love. Or at least, what I thought we used to have. I sat there for hours, watching them. They held hands, laughed, disappeared into the hotel together. Every second felt like a knife twisting in my chest. I couldn't bring myself to confront them that night. Instead, I drove home and sat in the dark, staring at the walls until morning. When she came back, she acted normal, kissed me on the cheek, asked me about my weekend. I nodded, pretending. But inside, I was crumbling. A week later, I decided to confront her. I told her I knew she wasn't on business trips, that I had followed her. She tried to deny it at first, her voice shaking, but when I told her I had seen her with him, the color drained from her face. Silence filled the room, and in that silence, everything I had built with her collapsed. She admitted it: months of lies, months of betrayal. She said she still loved me, that she didn't want to lose me. But how could she say that while giving herself to someone else? That night, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just packed a bag and left. Because sometimes the loudest goodbye is the one that's spoken in silence. And now, every time I think back, I wonder how many smiles, how many I love yous, were just part of the lie. I used to believe that betrayal was something that happened to other people. Not to me, not to us. Emma and I had been together for 6 years, and although life wasn't perfect, I thought we had built something solid. I thought I knew her better than anyone else in the world. It started small. She became more distant, spending more time working late. At first, I brushed it off. Everyone gets busy, right? But then she stopped sharing little details about her day, the things that always made me feel connected to her. She laughed at texts she never explained and guarded her phone like it held state secrets. My gut told me something was wrong, but my heart didn't want to believe it. One night, she said she was going to visit her sister, who had just moved into a new apartment. I encouraged her to go, even kissed her goodbye at the door. But later, I got a call from her sister, completely unaware of Emma's supposed visit. That's when suspicion turned into certainty. The following weekend, I made a decision. I told Emma I was going on a short business trip. She smiled, hugged me, and wished me luck. As soon as I left, I parked a few streets away and waited. An hour later, another car pulled into our driveway. My chest tightened. I watched as Emma opened the door and welcomed him in, a man I had never seen before. The ease, the intimacy in her gestures, said everything words could not. I sat there in my car, fists clenched, watching shadows move across the blinds of my own home. Every second felt like torture, but I couldn't look away. I stayed for hours, and when he finally left, she texted me a simple "Goodnight, Redheart." The next day, she acted like nothing happened. She asked me about my trip, made me breakfast, kissed me on the cheek. I played along, but inside I was hollow. That night, I confronted her. I asked her straight, "Who was he?" Her face went pale. For a moment, she tried to deny it, but when I showed her the pictures I had taken, she broke. Tears, excuses, apologies. She claimed she was lost, that it was a mistake. But mistakes don't happen over and over again. Mistakes don't walk through the front door of the life we built together. I packed a bag that night and left. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I just walked away, because there's nothing left to say when someone has already made their choice. The worst part of betrayal isn't losing the person you loved. It's realizing they were never really who you thought they were. I never thought I'd be the type of man who checks his partner's phone. Trust was always the foundation of my relationships. But with Laura, little cracks started showing, and eventually those cracks split wide open. It began with her sudden obsession with privacy. She used to leave her phone lying around everywhere: kitchen counters, coffee table, even on my side of the bed. But one day, she started taking it with her everywhere. Even to the shower. At first, I laughed it off. I joked, "What, are you hiding state secrets?" She laughed too, but her eyes didn't. Then came the late nights. "Work projects," she said. But Laura wasn't the kind of person who brought work home, let alone stayed out until midnight for it. I trusted her anyway. I told myself I was just being insecure. Until one night, I woke up at 3 a.m. to the glow of her phone. She was sitting in bed, smiling at the screen. When she noticed me stirring, she quickly turned it off and pretended to be asleep. That image burned into my brain, her smile, not meant for me. I couldn't shake it. The next week, I did something I swore I'd never do. I checked her phone when she was in the shower. What I found shattered me. Dozens of messages with someone saved as E. Sweet words, heart emojis, plans to meet. And then the photos, pictures of the two of them together at restaurants, in parks, even selfies taken in our own living room when I wasn't home. My chest felt like it was caving in. Every memory of her working late, every unanswered call, every girls' night suddenly made sense. I didn't confront her right away. I wanted to see just how deep the lies went. So I told her I had a business trip out of town. She hugged me, kissed me, and whispered, "I'll miss you." The very next night, through the camera I had set up in our living room, I watched her bring him in. On our couch. In our home. I sat in a hotel room miles away, staring at my phone screen, watching the woman I loved give herself to another man. It was like watching my entire life collapse in real time. When I came home, she acted normal. She made me breakfast, kissed my cheek, asked about my trip. I looked at her and realized I was staring at a stranger wearing the face of the woman I thought I knew. That evening, I sat her down and simply said, "Show me your phone." Her hands shook. She couldn't do it. That was my confirmation. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just told her, "You didn't just cheat on me. You killed the future we were supposed to have." Then I packed a bag and walked out. The hardest part isn't losing someone you love. It's realizing they were never really yours to begin with. I'll never forget the night I realized everything I thought was real was just an illusion. For months, Mia had been pulling away from me. At first, it was small things. She stopped holding my hand when we walked, she started staying later at work, and her phone became glued to her hand. Whenever I asked, she smiled and said, "You're overthinking." And I wanted to believe her. I loved her too much to imagine anything else. One Saturday, she said she was going to visit her mom. I didn't think much of it until her mom called me later that evening, asking if Mia was with me because she hadn't seen her in weeks. My blood went cold. I told her I'd call back, and that's when the truth started unraveling. I tried to calm myself, telling myself there was a logical reason. But my gut wouldn't let it go. I decided to drive around town. After an hour of searching, I saw her car parked outside a hotel. My heart started pounding so hard I thought I might faint. I sat there for almost 30 minutes, trying to convince myself to leave, to not go inside. But something stronger than fear pulled me forward. When I finally stepped into the lobby, there she was, standing at the reception desk, laughing at something a man beside her whispered. His arm brushed against hers, and she didn't pull away. She leaned into it. I froze. I didn't confront her. I just turned around and walked out before she ever saw me. My legs felt like lead, and my chest felt like it was being crushed. For the next few days, I lived in silence. She came home, kissed me, told me stories about her mom, and I nodded along like nothing was wrong. Every lie she spoke was another dagger in my chest. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I waited until we were having dinner. I looked her in the eyes and asked quietly, "How was your mom? Did she enjoy the visit?" She blinked, caught off guard. Her fork hovered in the air. "Why yeah, she's doing fine," she stammered. That was the moment I knew she was too comfortable with her lies. I slid my phone across the table. On the screen was a picture I had taken of her and him in the hotel lobby. Her face drained of all color. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Just silence. That silence was louder than any confession. I didn't scream. I didn't cry in front of her. I just stood up, grabbed my keys, and walked out. Because sometimes the greatest punishment for betrayal is showing the person who broke you that you're strong enough to leave. And that night, for the first time in months, I finally felt free. I always thought I was good at reading people. Friends used to joke that I could spot a lie a mile away. But when it came to Emma, the woman I loved for almost 6 years, I was blind. It began with little things. She started putting her phone face down on the table. She laughed at messages but never told me from who. And every time I walked into the room, she quickly locked her screen. I told myself I was overthinking. After all, she was the love of my life. One night, she told me she was going to meet her sister. That was normal, they were close. But later, her sister accidentally called me, asking if Emma wanted to hang out the next day. My chest tightened. Emma hadn't been with her. The next weekend, I pretended to have a late shift at work. Instead, I stayed in my car a few blocks away from our house. Around 9 p.m., I saw her walk out in the dress I had bought for her birthday. She looked beautiful, but not for me. She got into an Uber, and I followed. My hands were shaking on the wheel. The car stopped at a restaurant across town. A few minutes later, he appeared. Tall, confident, with that casual charm that made me feel invisible. And when she saw him, the way her face lit up, it was like I had never existed. I sat in my car for 2 hours, watching them laugh, touch hands across the table, look at each other like they were the only two people in the world. My heart felt like it was being ripped apart in slow motion. When she came home that night, she kissed me on the cheek, told me she had fun with her sister, and went straight to bed. I stared at her while she slept, wondering how many times she had lied to me with that same sweet smile. A week later, I couldn't take it anymore. I told her I knew. I didn't scream, I didn't accuse. I just said quietly, "Emma, I followed you." Her fork slipped from her hand. She didn't even try to deny it. She whispered, "I'm sorry," and suddenly, all the pieces of my life came crashing down. She said she was confused, that she loved me but needed something more. But how do you love someone while giving your heart to another? That night, I packed my bag. As I walked out, she begged me to stay, tears streaming down her face. But I didn't look back. Because love may make you blind, but betrayal makes you see everything with brutal clarity.